the role-playing game has inherent therapeutic benefits as you've experienced.
That was the part I was the most interested in,
Yeah,
because I was like, you can use this to teach people things? That's
yes.
amazing.
Absolutely. You can teach
Yeah.
language skills. That's been done multiple times very successfully because immersive learning is the best way to learn language, especially. So there have been multiple studies on the success of using role-playing games to teach language. It's awesome. It's been used for math successfully. It's been used for science successfully. It's been used for history, lots of different areas. And what happens is the people, not only because they get it, there's an entire school in Denmark called Osterkov Efterskole. It's 2 years of high school. You go live there. It's a public school in that the state pays for it, but you live there. It's a boarding school. And your last 2 years of high school, you do all the subjects. You've got math, science, history, 3 languages. All of this you have to learn while you're there in that 2 years. And you're competing with all the regular schools. You have to get all the same grades or better. And this place has been around now, I think, 15 something years. I've talked to them a few times. And they do it all through LARP. So an example is you're the beginning of your first year, your first week, first day. You all get together and they say, okay, for this semester, the school is a cruise ship. We're going to cruise the world, and you know, randomly, or you decide or whatever, some of you are going to be crew members, like you're going to be like the captain and the sailor and whatever. Some of you are going to work in the kitchen. Some of you, you're going to have all these different roles to run a cruise ship around the world. Navigator, the accountant, business person. You got to sell tickets and get people buying your tickets, right? All the things to run a cruise ship you're going to do, and you're going to do it as a LARP. You're going to have a character.
But that's just an all-day thing, right?
Well, right. Well, you're going to then learn. You're going to learn math, science, history, and languages through the day through assigned. You're going to say, okay, today we've pulled into, we're up in the Mediterranean, and we're going to go see Sicily, and you've pulled into the coast here, and the Coast Guard doesn't want to let you in. What do you all do, right? You know, and you only have limited food left. You need to get food supplies, and the challenges are going to make you have to do math, science, history, language, all of that. Like, oh, and they only speak Greek, they don't speak English, whatever. So you set up, and this is what we do all the time in educational settings, you set up challenges that are targeted, that you're going to learn the things, but you're going to be playing a game. You're just going to play it as, I got to overcome the challenge. You're focused on the game. That's your intrinsic motivation. You will happen to get extrinsic benefits, but that's not why you're doing it. You're doing it because it's fun. Well, research shows when you're intrinsically motivated, you will do harder stuff. You will work harder. You will play that video game for a lot more hours because you really want to overcome that. You never would have done that if it was a chore, if you were assigned to do it as opposed to wanting to do it. So
yeah. That's my biggest complaint about education is just this application of
it's a
this
scalability problem. It's really hard to scale. Role-playing gaming is difficult to scale. LARP and electronic scales better than tabletop. Tabletop has scalability problems, and I've done papers on this. That is the problem with tabletop, is scalability. LARP and electronic let you scale a lot better, and that's probably the future of teaching in a school setting role-playing game education. But again, don't forget all these other life skills and practical skills that you can do through role-playing gaming in a tabletop setting. So the way I did like the bus thing, we all met at the table with the actual map of the city of Tacoma, Washington, the actual transit map of all the streets and where all the buses and everything are. And then you're all Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and you've been brought in. You're familiar with the Marvel Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. thing, right? The thing is, you don't have to wear a costume. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., you can wear whatever regular clothing. You just have whatever your character's special abilities are, but you're not a superhero. And the rumor is somebody wants to do something bad to the city. We got a strange phone call. We can't track it down. We don't want to panic anybody. We don't have any details. Go investigate. The last thing we got was it was this payphone. Yes, there's still payphones here and there. Somebody made a call from there. So you all go down there and you ask around. There's some vagrants there and you have to carefully ask them. And again, this is all tabletop. And they're like, oh yeah, that would have been Mary Sue. She always comes by on the bus. She always rides the bus. I think I saw her there last night, but these 2 people grabbed her and hauled her off. Like, oh no. And then you get on the bus and you ask the bus drivers and you ride and you have to find bus routes and scheduling. So you have to learn the whole bus route and schedule system to track down the clues, right? And then you find out, oh, there's a conspiracy. Somebody at some point is planning to release a virus in the city. This was years ago, before COVID and all that. You don't know what the virus is going to do, but they're planning to use the public transit system to release a virus all at once throughout the whole city. And you're like, do we shut down the whole public transit? That'll be chaos. If we shut down the buses, we shut down the trains, we shut all, that's chaos. If we don't, we know it's going to happen, but we don't know when, and we don't know what's going to happen. We've got an idea of who it is. Let's go try to stop them. So, hey, John, just do an interview here with Eddie. So John is our vice president, and you just came back from Spark Central, right?
Correct.
Good. How did that go? Whew, 2 very full tables. Good. Come say hi to Eddie. So John is volunteer number 1. He's vice president. He's been with us the longest. So
Hi.
There's John.
Nice to
This
meet
is
you.
Eddie. So he's doing a school paper thing and also very intrigued by this as a career path, etc. So I'm kind of giving him examples of the
I
different
like the new
I
background.
sure know how
Yeah.
2 full tables feel. I can't really.
Well, full is 6 players, not overload, but that's very
Well,
full in a
absolutely,
community
yeah.
setting. Yeah.
I ran a Cyberpunk game that was 8, and that's a nightmare.
Yeah, and we usually, if we run a program, sooner or later, it'll just max out to whatever the capacity is. It just takes time for word to get out. As long as we're consistent, the key is consistent schedule and consistent staffing, and that's one of the hardest challenges. So anyway, you finally get a clue of where it is. So the night before, so this is over several weeks of tabletop role playing, you now figure out where the nearest bus is to your actual house, and you're all going to go meet down at the bus depot. Right? And again, this was for autism spectrum who are afraid to use the bus. You're going to actually use the bus to all meet there now because you've learned the system. You'll all meet there in real life. So now the LARP part begins. Again, you don't have to dress up or anything. You meet there, and then either there's Post-its or we have people as NPCs that you go find them and you unravel the clues. And then the twist is whether you stop it or not, if you schedule it, some cities do zombie walks where everybody dresses up as zombies and walks down the street. So you want to try to time it with that. And if they solve it, you turn right. You catch the bad guy, yay, you saved the day. Hey, but come take a look at what would have happened. Or if you don't solve it, it doesn't matter because you learn to use the bus. That's all we cared about. We didn't care if you win or lose. We cared about you learning the bus. If you fail, oh, turn this way. Look what happened, and you've got all these zombies coming down the street and stuff. So that's a tabletop to LARP version. But that's all life skills. And then in the educational setting, we've talked about that. Okay, so that's education, and that gets more complicated. The hardest one is the therapeutic. Now, again, inherent therapeutic benefits, we know that from the research. But to target it and optimize the therapeutic stuff, that takes more training and skill.